What's up, everybody? This is lead meteorologist John Choquette here to go over, basically, we're not really seeing much in the way of hail today and the next couple days, so we're going to bring to you our own little mini-series here of Hail 101. So instead of just showing the hail forecast, we're going to be kind of going over probably the next few days or until we can actually get like a real weather event to happen. Going over just the basics of what we do with forecasting hail, so you guys can kind of, when you're watching the weather and doing something, maybe just kind of wanting to know something before you view our videos, maybe you can learn a thing or two about just the basics of forecasting for hail. And more specifically today, we're going to be talking about something that has shown up quite a bit just in the past recent weeks, mainly because it's the middle of winter, and that is, if I can get my clicker to go, there we go. Hail versus sleet. What's the difference? And why does it seem to happen that way? What is the big difference between hail and sleet? And hopefully this clears it up a little bit. We are able to clear it up a little bit for you guys. I know a lot of folks will call in during the winter months, especially in areas where they don't see winter weather too often, asking like, "Oh, hey, it's hailing out there," and we're like, "What are you talking about?" And it's sleeting. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just, show what the basic differences are. Here I'm going to have a couple graphics. These are not my own. I took them from the internet. This one is credit to Encyclopedia Britannica, and it is about hail formation. I feel like this is probably this is a much better graphic than what I could make. So basically, for those of you guys who don't entirely know, how hail is formed is you need a thunderstorm. What we have here, you need big convective development, you need lots of warm air, big lift to cause a storm. And what happens is you have, in this updraft, you get dust particles and water droplets and whatnot. They get blown up with the updraft. And as they go higher and higher and higher into the air, you eventually get over the freezing mark, which I'll just use right here as like the freezing line. So that water then freezes and it all goes up and it starts to kind of stick together. You have all this super cooled water that sticks with it, and the hailstone will go up and around, and it could do this little loop-de-loop a bunch of times, especially that really big hail that you get, the softball size hail, baseball size hail. It'll be up in the cloud for a long time. With the stronger the updraft, the longer the hail can just kind of sit there and spin around till it gets too heavy and drops down. And that's how you get your big hailstones. And even, I can show here, it gives a better idea. In terms of the shapes of hail, when they're the nice big spheres, it's because it's tumbling a ton. The weird oblong ones usually means it gets kind of lopsided and it just goes down in one basic direction. And then once the spikes, that's a whole other physics thing that's kind of wild. But that's basically how hail forms. Now, how sleet forms is a little less exciting. So pretty much you have a storm system. There has to be cold air in place at the surface, and usually this is along like a warm front that's moving through. So say in a big either a warm front or a cold front coming through, basically. So you have a big storm moving through, like a big cold front moves through the southeast, for example. It's in the 70s the day before, cold front comes through, and then you get to probably about 6-7 hours later, starts raining, and it starts sleeting. Well, why is the case? Well, what happens is the cold front will move through, and since cold air is more dense than warm air, it kind of wedges under that warm air, and there's nowhere else for the warm air to go except up. So the warm air gets pushed up, the cold air comes in, and then you have lift being caused by the warm air. So for storms to form, for any sort of precipitation to happen, you need lift in the atmosphere. So you have the warm air go up, it hits cooler air higher up in the atmosphere, that forms clouds, and then it starts dropping snow because it's below freezing at this point, but it hits that layer of warm air, that little wedge of warm air we have right here, and it melts and turns into rain, and as it continues to fall through the sky, it goes back into the cold air, and that causes the raindrops to just freeze as it's falling, and it comes down as little sleet pellets, and that's how you get sleet. That's also how you get freezing rain as well. Freezing rain is this exact process, except it's happening like over here where there's a very thin layer of very cold air, so the rain makes it all the way to the ground that freezes on the surface. So sleet is pretty much this little middle ground here. So those are how hails form and how sleet is formed. And finally, what are the key differences? basically, hail occurs in thunderstorms, while sleet only occurs in, I'd say, cold weather systems. So basically you have the big snowstorms, the just big rainmaker events, nothing as deeply convective as like a big time thunderstorm. Hail will move up and down in a cloud a bunch of times. Sleet, it only falls once. You have that precip, whether it's rain or snow at cloud level, falls down, and it'll freeze as it goes towards the ground and hits the ground as a frozen raindrop. And finally, the most obvious one, especially for you guys who watch us, who work in this industry, hail can be extremely destructive. There's an entire industry around it. But sleet, not so much. It's really honestly just kind of a nuisance. In terms of when you want a big ice storm, sleet kind of ruins the party because all it does is kind of get in the way. It's sort of heavy, hard to shovel. And that's really all sleet it does. So now the big question is, do they ever happen together? Is there ever instances of sleet and hail? And for those of you in Austin, Texas from this past weekend, the answer is yes, there is sleet and hail. However, very rarely does it have, when there's sleet, there's severe hail. There's only one time in recent memory of that happening, and Derek remembers it very fondly. I actually was talking about it a little bit earlier, and he remembered the storm, and he did a little digging and found the storm that did happen. It was on April 9th, 2013. You can see here, this was these aren't clouds, these little streaks. This is actually the sleet and the hail. So it was the thunderstorms that formed like after a cold front came through. Big thunderstorms formed, so they were very convective, but it was also very cold. So you had sleet falling primarily instead of rain, and then on top of that, since it was a really convective storm, it had hail falling as well. It was actually a pretty big storm, probably the biggest storm of 2013 for Omaha. They had up to probably a 2-inch hail or something close to that for this storm on April 9th, 2013. So that is really the only time it really happens together. So more times than not, almost 100% of the time, if you see sleet falling, these tiny little storms, and there's no thunder or anything, chances are it's not going to get any bigger. It's just going to be sleet. And with hail, chances are if it's not really cold outside, and there's ice falling down, it's probably hail. Looking ahead, here's our forecast for Thursday, and yeah, there's no thunderstorms forecast, unfortunately. The thing we've been watching the past few days, we had up on our videos. If you've been watching us on Friday or yesterday, or it's not really there now. We don't really have much of the cutoff low that was supposed to be a trough initially. Now a cutoff low that caused storms across the southeast and part of the southern plains. It looks like now not really gonna be much of anything. Here in Oklahoma City, for example, it's probably going to be about 75 degrees on Thursday. Cold front comes through, so you got some clouds, big gust of wind, drops down, and it's going to be cold and probably sunny on Friday around here. So with that, I don't really think there's going to be any severe weather on Thursday. But don't freak out entirely yet. This is the most recent model data we have from the American model. And yes, this is indeed, the pattern change is coming. We promise. This is going into next week. So basically, we got to get through this week. And I'm not going to dance around it. Not really much is going to go on. It's going to be pretty cold, pretty boring. It's going to warm up, cool down. You know, no real big weather events happening for severe weather to be possible. But we look in here and you see towards the end of the run. So this starts at this weekend. So it's Saturday, Sunday. Once we get into like Monday and Tuesday, you see the jet stream. This is the jet stream. Start to get this big dip down here in the mountain west. And then things kind of make a shift up north like this. This indicates you get that moisture return. Again, the things we were talking about, and we'll go more into detail about this probably tomorrow. Just what causes all the moisture to come up and make it so things are much more conducive for severe weather. This is a pattern much just on the very large scale than what we look at from far out, is much more conducive for severe weather. So we promise that that pattern change is coming, and it looks like, again, things are staying pretty consistent from our 2018 hail forecast. That, you know, this last week of February, and then especially once we get into March, I think things are really going to start picking up pretty quickly in our most active area from the southeast, Dixie Alley, Tennessee Valley, whatnot. We'll probably have that going into March. And finally, so make sure you don't miss our updates, have our notifications set up so you don't miss any of our videos. If you like this, make sure you like and share this video, of course, and follow our page. Make sure those notifications are set up. You go on to notification settings, select your regions, cities, states, all states, whatnot. If you watched our video more than once, you probably heard me go through this spiel a few times now. Make sure the methods that you prefer, you can get it on your mobile phone or push notifications, you can get it on your email, and you can get it on your desktop computer as well. And again, make sure these are set up, especially if you had text messaging with us before. We no longer have the text messaging service. It's all through the app now, so make sure you have that set up. And finally, obviously, you probably watch us on Facebook. That's our most viewed area. You can watch us on YouTube as well, and on our website on hailtrace.com, the live weather center. You can watch this exact stream on there as well, and you can put comments and we can answer questions and whatnot on there. But make sure on Facebook you follow our posts and you select it to see it first, so we pop up at the top of your news feed. So even if you miss these videos live, you can watch them after the fact and see what we have to say for the day. And that's all I have for you guys today. So again, leave any comments below for any other things you want us to cover in terms of, like, you know, hail, just pretty much anything you guys want us to cover. I mean, I have a few, obviously I have quite a few things for our just Hail 101, and it'll continue through the remainder of the week, but we're open to suggestions for when the weather is dead like this. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you again tomorrow at noon, like every weekday at 12 p.m.